So, for those of you who haven't been with us for all of August, and just in case you haven't noticed it in any other place, the month of August has had a theme, and the theme is Time for Fire, named after Daniel Nahmod's song of the same title. And the premise is that August is hot, so why not make use, like good metaphysicians, of the thermodynamics of it and put that heat to good use by simply understanding how it works and allowing it to work for us. And so we began the first week of August with passion and purpose. And then we stepped into promise and possibility. And then we moved into wholeness and whole being. And today is our fourth of 5 gatherings on this theme. Today we're talking about making a difference. And stay tuned next week when we put it all together and fire our kiln. When we decide what it's finally going to look like and we select the glaze and say, this project is finished, it's complete, and we put it in the kiln and we fire it, and it's something that's with us from there on. Because we have more stuff to do. After our month of passion and purpose and promise and possibility and rediscovering our wholeness and making a difference and firing our kiln, we have something that we're going to do with that beginning in September. So this is a quote from Ernest Holmes about idealism. A religious scientist, which is another way to describe what we are, by the way, is a practical idealist, but not a dreamer. Thought swings from contemplation into action, from prayer into performance. For while there is, in the innermost recesses of our soul, a place which dwells in eternal stillness and inaction, there is also a place at the circumference of our being which, animated by this inner principle, goes forth to accomplish. It's connecting the inner and the outer. There are many statements made by Ernest Holmes and Thomas Troward, and certainly plenty of others, about balancing the inner and the outer, about balancing the heavenly and the earthly. Holmes says that we need to have our head in the clouds and our feet firmly planted on the ground. And so when we talk about making a difference, we get into the neighborhood of looking at how that comes about. Sometimes it's a reaction to adversity that sets us on our way, that sends us to the circumference of our lives and sets us into action. And sometimes it's a dream that gets us going. And the truth of the matter is that we'll have a combination of both influences, pulling us, pushing us, urging us forward by whatever means, because we have some greater yet to be's within us. We have greatness ready yet to be discovered and embodied and expressed and experienced. And if we persist, if we stay on course, we will end up somewhere we've never been before. We will end up some way we've never been before. We will end up someone we've never been before. And it all starts by something out there triggering that expression. I've mentioned before something that I learned by way of Greg Braden, that genetic capacities are expressed when they are triggered by external stimuli. Actually, he refers to it as environmental stimuli. And And we usually stop at this idea of thinking about diet, nutrition, pollution or clean air, those kind of stimuli. But Greg Braden makes an important point, that emotion is one of those. Inspiration is one of those. So there's another really neat thing in metaphysics that says that if you want to experience something, do it. We think about this idea of being stimulated to express potential. And this is really one part of the big cycle, but what we're talking about today is our part of being the inspiration. And of course, we're inspired by someone or something else to begin doing that. So one way to stimulate our potential in any area is to act on it. That might sound a little backwards. But one way to learn something is to teach it. And one way to get something is to give it. One way to achieve something is to become it. The truth of this game is not linear. The cart and the horse are in the opposite order that we might be told by our culture. How often do we wait until we believe we know enough before we think we have something to teach? How often do we wait until we believe we have enough before we consider giving some of what we have? And how often do we wait until we think we are enough before we imagine that we might have a contribution, an inspiration to offer someone else? Pretty often, actually. Not really anybody's fault, because we are evolving. We're recognizing that what is that called? I have it written down here somewhere. Anyway, the spiritual paradox is that really, in order to learn something, we begin teaching it. Because what happens in the process of preparing to do that? What do? You learn it. And also in giving it out, you get it flowing through you and you get more of it. In the process of trying to get more, if we focus on including some avenue of giving, we will open ourselves up in the giving and receive more. And in the process of hoping to achieve more, we can dedicate ourselves to becoming more, and in the process, the achievement will happen. But another thing about this is that we don't do any of those with the purpose of the game. We don't do any of those with the intention to receive. We do them purely and cleanly for the absolute joy of each of them, for the wonder of each of them. That's the trick. That's the ticket. Because when we do it that way, we are open. So we've been going down this road this month of discovering, what's our passion, what's our purpose, and we've been talking about promise and possibility, and we've been throwing old beliefs out the window and cleaning house and making room and redefining and fine-tuning and refocusing and polishing. We've been doing this work because we're ready to sort of get on that horse and ride again. We're ready to get back in the ring. Whatever your metaphor is, we're ready to try again. And so something else that happens, besides the fact that we are pulled by a vision and sometimes pushed by pain, besides the fact that we are sometimes moved out the door by an inspiration and other times sort of kicked in the rear by a circumstance that we didn't expect, we're on the move. We're on the move. And one of the things that just seems to happen when we're in that flow of growing and purpose and meaning and saying, I know that I can live my life that way. and I really do believe this, is that there comes an urge from that wholeness and from that passion to make a difference in the world. And then again, we get to come face to face with what in us says, oh, what? But I don't have anything to share. I don't have anything to teach. I don't have anything to give. I'm not ready yet. Are we going to say that again? The bittersweet beauty conundrum of evolving is that things are constantly moving and shifting. And when we resist them, we experience friction and heat, and it can get messy. But it always works out. Because by one means or another, Spirit finds its way and has its way. Just like water always finds its way home. So it's possible that if you're in the middle of any kind of, who am I and what does it all mean and who have I come here to be, and another approach to living with your ideals right here in the front, with what matters most on the top of your list, to move through every day and week and month, every hour, every year, this time in humanity in a meaningful way. That you might be coming up against some beliefs about whether you do or do not have something to teach, or to give, or to show, or to share. And of course we know that's not true. But these urges bring up everything unlike them to be reevaluated. They bring that stuff up so that we can say, wait a minute, gosh, I really don't know how to proceed, but I do know that belief doesn't fit me anymore. It used to be my reason why not, but it's not working anymore. I want to tell you, I went on an adventure on Thursday, and it was pretty crazy. Because I was invited to two things in Delray Beach, which is 44 miles from where I live, one way. One of them was at 11:30 a.m. to have lunch with some dear friends and then go to a 2 o'clock matinee of a play, which, by the way, turned out to last for 2 hours and 45 minutes or so. And the other one was from 7 to 9 p.m. So I was gone for almost 12 hours. If I had just dawdled for 30 more minutes, I would have made a 12-hour adventure out of all that. And yet, it was just so worth it. I decided to make this an adventure. The first half, of course, I met some new people and got together with some I hadn't seen in a while. I went to this play, and there comes this woman who sat down right behind and beside me. And I remembered where I knew her from. The last time I saw her was 16 years previously, in 1998 or so, in France. And when we saw each other in France, it had been a few years. And at that time we said, what are you doing here? And so and she said, I was supposed to go to the evening show, but something told me to come to this one. Well, when we stepped outside, and I was doing my elevator speech, so what are you up to? We exchanged cards. I said, I'm a minister now. We both used to work on yachts, so we were that's how we ended up in France at the same time. And so I was saying, well, they call it Center for Spiritual Living now, but in Fort Lauderdale at that time, it used to be something else. She goes, oh, well, I'm Ernest Holmes, I'm Science of Mind. And so I'm like, I'm catching up, saying, me too. That was totally unexpected. It had zero to do with what brought us to that point. But beautiful, to take the leap, to do the thing that seems crazy. You don't have time. Oh, it'll cost so much. It'll take so much time. Oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, that's not important. I went ahead and did it, and all of that happened. And then the 7 to 9 part was an interfaith cafe, conversation cafe, because my desire is to do that up here. I sat at a table. I was immediately elected the scribe of our table, and what do you call the facilitator of our circle. There were 3 circles, each comprised of about 6 or 7 people, and this is who was at my table. We had myself, Center for Spiritual Living. We had a a woman who was there to talk about her Jewish faith tradition. Then we had Reverend Ernie Chu. I tricked him into being there. CSL. We're not supposed to sit at the same table, but we never see each other. Then a Zen Buddhist, and then a Muslim woman, and then an Episcopalian, and then a man, a doctor of the Baha'i faith. It was awesome. It was worth getting home at 10 at night. Trust me. So what does this all mean? I have to tell you that I get these harebrained ideas when I court the infinite to do things that look like they're not possible. And that was an example of just go ahead and do it, and you will be so pleasantly surprised. And of course, we made all kinds of connections. And my intention is to do that up here. Now I know how it is. It's meet up, cookies, tea, coffee, and a spot. That's it. An intention. Now, granted, this wasn't the Parliament of World Religions, or the World Parliament of Religions. I forget how that goes. But it was a parliament of people in the community. So here's what occurred to me. I have been waiting. I've been doing a lot of some days and as soon as, and I want to invite you to join with me in letting go of those. Okay? Someday, when we have a different space, we're going to be able to do what we've been saying. Oh, we'll be able to have a youth program. Oh, we'll be able to sell stuff. Oh, we'll be able to put magazines on the back table. Oh, we'll be able to do this. We'll be able to do that. That's so completely out of alignment with how the law of cause and effect works. And as long as we hold this belief that as soon as and someday when we will be able to do anything, we won't be able to do it. My sister Betty Ann, and bless her heart, she's in France right now. She's in Paris. A well-deserved trip abroad. She one time put her little hands on her little hips when she was teeny tiny and said to my father, "Someday never comes." She knew that already. Someday never comes. That's really what the truth is, or the core is about what I'm wanting to share with you today. And as soon as doesn't either. Because the law reproduces according to what we believe. The law of cause and effect. It creates according to what we believe. It is done unto us as we believe. As is a beautiful word. It's not when. It's not if. As speaks of the eternal and powerful present. And it also speaks of the nature and the quality of that believing. It speaks of the time of that believing. It speaks of the duration of that believing. It speaks of everything about that believing. And it says that according to what we believe, we will receive. We do receive. So we have an opportunity to rethink about what it is that we want to do next. Whether it's, this dreaming about what we would like to do together as a community in another space. Whether it's just this, I keep making these faces because it's these magnificent visions, and we're all right where we are now. Then we say, well, how do we get there? Certainly not by saying someday and as soon as. So what's required? Think back to what I said a moment ago. It's a leap of faith where you're promised that you will grow, either learn to fly or grow wings on the way down, I know, or that the net will appear, right? I have all of those magnets on my refrigerator. The Buddhist tradition says fall down 7 times, get up 8. Get up 1 more time than you fell down. That's the promise. It's all about taking a risk. It's all about having faith. It's all about willing to believe in what you cannot see. Because how could you possibly evolve or grow or be more or have more or do more thinking about what's already appeared? There's nothing new about it. And more is new. So how could you possibly experience any type of increase when you're looking at what's already happened? That's ancient history. That is evidence of yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's feelings, yesterday's beliefs, even yesterday's actions. Yesterday's sit-ups do nothing for my stomach today. I know. So whatever it is, can we shift our perspective? Are we holding back because we're holding on to old ideas which limit us and use the law in a way that binds us? Would we be willing to rethink, re-see, re-speak, and react on these dreams in such a way that the law, the same law, can free us? Because I know those dreams won't let me go. They will pull and push. They will wake me up in the middle of the night. They will get me up early in the morning. They will stay on my mind because there's something that's meant to happen by means of each of us. And it will have its way. So I invite you to just consider this. When you listen to the news or watch it or read it or think about it or learn about things from your friends or accidentally in passing because you don't tune in directly, whenever you hear about what's happening out there, go back to that place within first. Fill up, center down, and then allow that centered full you to go out to the circumference of your experience and do something, because it will make a difference. And remember that you are already enough. You already know enough. You already have enough. You're perfect just the way you are. If you add nothing else, because really there's nothing to add. It's already within us. We're simply inspired to reveal, to discover and reveal more of it. Healing is revealing. So I'm just going to close us with a spiritual mind treatment, and I trust that you'll take that all in as we get ready to go out from here. I speak my word in gratitude for the remembrance of the presence of Spirit as perfect, whole, and complete. I speak my word in gratitude and recognition for the remembrance of our oneness with it. That because we are one with it and it is all there is, there's nothing else. There's nothing else that we can be or do or have or experience but this good. There is no exception in any moment or hour of any day, ever, ever, ever. And so what I know is that we're already enough, and there's nothing to become, nothing to get, nothing to achieve. Only that one decision, that one choice, to step out and be it in faith, in trust, in believing, and watch life unfold. And so I give thanks for this remembrance. I give thanks for this knowing, because I know each time we take the time to know the truth, we make room for it as our experience. And so in saying yes, gratefully, I release this word, knowing it is already acted upon by the law and fully manifest. And together as we open our eyes, we say,
Yes, so it is.